Can you sort of pinpoint the alleged actions of General Min Aung Hlaing against Rohingya Muslims that have brought about this application for an arrest warrant?
The actions in this case relate to the 2017-2018 period during the expulsion of around 700,000 Rohingya people from northern Rakhine state in Myanmar. That was an expulsion that was accompanied by a killing perhaps of 10,000 or more people, the destruction of their villages and properties, and really a campaign of terrorising the people to force them into fleeing from Myanmar into Bangladesh.
And Chris, can we assume that UN investigators do now have enough evidence to prove that Min Aung Hlaing committed these crimes against humanity for the persecution and the deportation of Rohingyas that were there?
The UN itself has had this information for now 5 or 6 years. I was a member of the United Nations fact-finding mission on Myanmar, which reported in 2018 and 2019, and at that time recommended that Min Aung Hlaing be prosecuted by the International Criminal Court. So now the court has conducted its own investigations and has responded to our recommendation and to the results of its own investigations, and decided that it was time to seek an arrest warrant for Min Aung Hlaing. So clearly the prosecutor considers that there is more than enough evidence for this.
Yes, and it's taken quite a long time. You're saying that these were brought to light 5 years ago. So why has it taken this long? And going forward, are we expecting the panel of judges to agree with the chief prosecutor?
The prosecutor has to conduct his own investigations. So although I feel like everyone else that this has taken a long time, I do understand that proper investigation takes time. The fact that the prosecutor is now satisfied that he has sufficient evidence is an indication of the strength of the evidence that he himself has collected. The prosecutor has a very good track record of having his applications for arrest warrant approved by the court. He doesn't move, in fact, until he's absolutely satisfied that he has enough to convince the court of the need to issue the warrants. So yes, I fully expect that the judges will approve the warrants and they will be issued.
Of course, this is in many cases a forgotten conflict. So Chris, can you just shed some light to, once again to us and to the audience as to what have been the consequences, today's consequences of Min Aung Hlaing's actions for Rohingya who were forced to flee?
The most immediate consequence is that Rohingya people in very large numbers are still seeking refuge in Bangladesh. They live there in appalling conditions, in makeshift camps that are subject to extremely bad weather, increasing crime, and a great deal of insecurity. 700,000 were forced out in the 2017-2018 period. There had already been 300,000 expelled from Myanmar to Bangladesh. So over 1 million people are in these camps now. And as I said, their living conditions are absolutely appalling. The crimes that are alleged against Min Aung Hlaing and his associates, the other senior generals and soldiers on the ground who implemented the orders, are very serious crimes, amongst the most serious under international law.
And are there other atrocities that we have heard of in the past? Are things that the ICC possibly cannot even investigate because they can't even have access to get into Myanmar?
And not only the question of access, but also the question of the jurisdiction of the court. Myanmar itself is not a party to the treaty, the Rome Statute, that governs the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court. This case is within the jurisdiction of the court because the forcible expulsions resulted in the Rohingya people going to Bangladesh, which is a party to the treaty. So the Bangladesh connection is critical here. But everything else that Min Aung Hlaing has done in Myanmar, going back particularly to the time of the attempted coup in 2021 and since, but before that, is not yet being investigated by the court. The National Unity Government of Myanmar has made a necessary declaration under the treaty to give the court jurisdiction. But so far as we're aware, the court has not yet acted on that declaration. We would like to see Min Aung Hlaing and his co-conspirators in the attempted coup, those who are responsible for very large numbers of deaths, thousands of deaths in Myanmar, brought before the court for those crimes as well. but this is a good start.
Yes, as you mentioned, Myanmar is not a party to the Rome Statute, but neither are so many other countries in Southeast Asia. We're talking about Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia. So how likely is it he will be arrested should a warrant be issued?
I think that's an open question. I feel very hopeful. Certainly, the wheels of international justice turn agonisingly slowly. But we have seen many cases where people who it was thought would never come before the court have been arrested and brought before the court. So I'm not underestimating the difficulty involved in arresting Min Aung Hlaing and bringing him to justice, but I remain very hopeful that that will occur.
And do you think the ICC will be in it in the long haul, because so many other cases we have seen have possibly taken years or decades to prosecute?
Yes, I do. It does take a long time, but the International Criminal Court has shown a great deal of persistence in dealing with the most serious crimes. This is among the most serious crimes, and I feel quite confident, I feel very confident that the court will persist until justice is achieved.
Okay, Chris Sidoti, really good to get your insights into this. Thank you so much.